Speak Student!
Molecular genetics, cloning animals, a la Shmoop.
We're talking biology with Dr. Ruth Tenen, and we're going to talk now about biotechnology. Okay, so walk us through how scientists clone animals, because it just sounds so cool.
Yes, it does sound cool. So it's the Dolly idea, basically, that we all heard about.
The sheep.
The sheep,
Yeah.
yep. And the basic process is called nuclear transplantation. This is how most scientists would do it. So you start off with an egg, and you empty out the DNA from that egg. So then you end up with what's called an enucleated egg, because it doesn't have a nucleus. Okay. And then you take a differentiated cell, which basically means, it's a skin cell or a heart cell to become something. It's a mature cell. You take the DNA from that differentiated cell and you insert it into that empty egg. So basically you have turned that egg into essentially a fertilized egg. You'd basically take that egg, you'd allow it to develop into an embryo in a petri dish, and then you'd put it into a surrogate mom, so like a surrogate sheep mom, allow it to develop, and then you'd be born with basically the genetically identical version of whatever organism you started with.
So why can't we do that with humans?
So there are definitely technical hurdles. I think the bigger hurdles are like moral and ethical things. It's possible people are working on that stuff, but there are like major international laws to prevent such things from happening right now. And I think that there's also always issues with like who's going to have access to the technology, and it's really only going to be part of the population, and then does that cause inequalities and things like that? So there's a lot of ethical issues.
All right, so back into the real world. Obviously, like there are good reasons to clone animals, and it's almost cloning and breeding. It's, I guess, a combined partnership.
Yep.
How does that work? Like, give us some examples for what the state of the art is for cloning animals and breeding and kind of creating.
Yeah, so there's a few reasons that people are cloning animals now. So one is, so when we make animal models of disease, so let's say we want a mouse model of some human disease, it can take a long time to do that by breeding, because you have to introduce multiple mutations and you have to cross all the mice and everything. If you had a mouse and you could just make a new version of that same mouse without having to do all that breeding, that would be a huge time saver. So that's one thing. Definitely if you had, some sort of livestock that had a particular trait that you were interested in, it's easier probably to clone than to breed that. People are actually, there's a big market for bringing back extinct animals, deceased pets.
Reanimator.
Also.
Yeah, that was a great film.
So,
so go back to the mice thing.
Yep.
What ethical issues arise when using animals for scientific experiments?
And I think right now we don't have a whole lot of other alternatives. So it's either test the stuff on humans, and it's test a drug on humans without testing it on animals, or you have to sacrifice the mice. And there are tons of regulations about how the mice are treated. You have to submit a protocol to make sure that you're humanely treating the animals. But there's all the time there are people picketing outside of research universities saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing these experiments on mice. So it's definitely problematic still. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, interesting ethical issues.
How do scientists clone animals? Why don't we clone humans? What are examples of cloning animals? What ethical issues arise when using animals for scientific experiments? Ew!